noches, señoras y señores. La catedral del burlesque tiene el honor de presentar para ustedes, directamente del otro lado, la monumental sensualidad de la única.
Hello, welcome to a fresh season of La Mesita. Remember that you are listening to WLPN LP 105.5 FM Lumpen Radio, broadcasting from home. My name is Portia.
And Jennifer.
Today we celebrate with a special guest. He is the other half of Reyna, Tropical, and before the pandemic, they were on tour with the Bomba Estéreo all over the USA. Yollocalli Diaz, better known as Sumohair, is a multidisciplinary artist that creates music and visual concepts that represent the African diaspora. Welcome, Sumohair. It's a pleasure to have you here on La Mesita with us.
Thank you for having me. That was a really cool intro.
Tell us, what have your projects been like ever since the pandemic started last year?
It's been it's been like a roller coaster because it's like there was times where like you were really really into the creative process of just making new things, but then there were times where you were like wondering how come or why are you making things, if like you're not even really connected with people, so you don't even know if people are even interested in listening to music when such a thing like a pandemic is happening. Like there's a very strong disconnection with the creative process, the making of, and the connection with people. So it's really challenging. Like it's been really, well, not as much anymore, but it was really challenging making things when you didn't have that direct connection with people. I feel like that is, to a certain extent, you wanted to share this with people directly, and there was a wall because of the pandemic, and so it's like you had all the time available to make things, but there was a disconnection. So in terms of like what it was like creating during a pandemic, I think that's probably the best way that I could summarize the process of.
Okay, I definitely understand that it has been hard, especially when you want to try to connect with people, but you can't in the way that you usually do. So yeah.
Exactly.
Could you give us an insight on any current projects?
Yeah, like literally, like currently right now, we are working on our next EP for Reyna Tropical, and we just shot a new music video for a track that we just put out, and that is this is all in the works, and right now we're in the creative process, which is making putting the music together, recording it, and then moving on to the mixing and mastering, and then packaging it and putting it out, which will be a couple weeks until we're completely done and ready for this new EP record to be out, and then we'll put it out, and that's the next thing that's happening. So that is currently what I'm working on right now, and nothing else really. I mean, that's the priority, and that's the only thing on the table right now, for now. But I'm excited for that to be done, and for people to hear it. But yeah, that's the current project.
Could you talk about your cover art for a track that you have? I think it's called Santa Lucia, and the creative vision that you had while making this song as well.
Santa Lucia. I'm trying to remember the exact cover art for that track.
You can look.
But I know that there's a pattern there in all of the artwork for the stuff that I put out, like personally, like Santa Lucia, and like that's from an album called Tropical Gold. But that's all inspired by like world music, world rhythms, like you had mentioned the African diaspora. With the artwork, I really wanted to be appealing for people to want to hear the music. So for people to be able to look at it and be intrigued to want to hear the music. And I think that if I can put the music, if I can create artwork that describes the music, the artwork would be that. And it's basically a collage of like pictures from around the world of people either dancing, celebrating live in a carnival tradition, or just celebration in terms of cultural traditions with happy colors and kind of like a little postcard, you know, that describes the sound. But I definitely like put a lot of thought into the artwork. I do it myself just because I feel like it's faster if I do it myself, and that inspires the artwork, and it also inspires the little video snippets that I make. And so it's all just one package. I think that the artwork is as important as the music. The videos are as important as the music. Like they're all just one big package. So the inspiration for the art is really just that.
While you were making the art, by any chance, did you get like any kind of blockage while trying to come up with any ideas? Or did you kind of like maybe see something somewhere and you thought, you know, I want to do something similar to that? Or did you, or how did it come to be when you make your artwork?
You know, I spend a lot of time just looking at stuff, and I think I begin to save ideas. Like I spend almost every day on YouTube, just like scrolling and looking at watching documentaries and like watching footage and stuff like that. And I'll save it on a playlist called Inspiration. And or sometimes like I'll be on Instagram and I'll start saving like pictures that inspire me, and I'll have like a list of different things that inspire me. So when it's ready for me to make something, I go back and just look at that and just get stimulated visually, so that when it's time for me to make something, it's like, okay, cool. All I have to do is like, I use this program called After Effects from Adobe. And basically what I do is like, I'll get pictures and I'll start cutting them out, and I'll do like different layers and layers of pictures, and I'll start to like make them move. And then when I get what I want, you know, like I'll screenshot it and use that as the main artwork, and then I'll use the little video as like a video promo. But usually I don't have a hard time coming up with a concept, a creative concept for the artwork or the art. I think that comes to me pretty easy and pretty naturally. I think the harder part for me is the actual like the mixing and mastering of the music that I make. The creative process is just like it's pretty easy for me. I can, you know, come up with ideas. Like I can create like every day, and like if that was it, I could do it forever. But like it's other things that become a blockage for me that make it difficult for me to sometimes like have things ready for.
What are habits that you do that help you be the best you can be when making music or working on a project?
You know, honestly, the best habit for anything that you do is just like, I mean, at least for me, it's just stay inspired. You know, if you're gonna do something, just like saturate yourself in it and become obsessed with it. I think that when you become like obsessed with something in a good way, like you're always going to be able to like produce, create. Like I would say that's, if I had to say like, you know, what's my habit, that's a habit that I have of just like completely diving deep into music and like letting it like absorbing all of it, and just like marinating in ideas, like concepts, and like just constantly, like YouTube is that one fountain of inspiration for me. Like that's the medium that I use for everything. I feel like when it comes to like being inspired, or like never like, you know, losing the rhythm of creating, because there's just so much on YouTube. And that is that, you know, I wake up in the morning, I'm watching like YouTube videos, documentaries, listening to music on YouTube. I don't even use my headphones, to be honest, because I try to protect my ears as much as possible. So all of the music comes from my phone, like literally from the speakerphone. And like I wake up in the morning watching music videos, like in the day I'm watching music videos, at night I'm like watching music videos, documentaries, like I'm reposting, and like it's just like an everyday like habit. I think it's and I enjoy it, you know, and I enjoy it so much I feel like I have to share it, you know. but that is the one thing that I do that I feel like has become like a habit.
So I really enjoyed the song Nina. I was just wondering if you could tell a little bit more about the song and how it was created.
Yeah, that song is actually like that for Reyna, because that was actually the first that's the first song that we put out, actually. Was it? And it wasn't so we weren't supposed to actually ever play live. It was more like, let's record a song and like let's put it out, and we really liked it, and it did really well. But like that song came about like in just a session, a session of improvisation where like I laid out like a drum pattern, and I just looped it and played it until Fabi laid a bass line and laid a guitar chord, some guitar chords, and started writing to it, and it just came so naturally, and it was a very effortless process. But that song, you can hear different rhythms like come together. It has like a very like kind of like a reggaeton beat, and it also has it has some like really cool like chords and melodies. It's like two different styles like blending into one. It's a very catchy tune. Yeah, I mean that is basically the story behind that. That was the first track that we recorded, and it was like very effortlessly done and recorded.
So I feel like every artist has like this like first love with music where they kind of like hit to the point where they're like, oh, I kind of want to start making music, or I want to start doing something in that area. So I want to ask you, what inspired you to want to make music? What was the motive behind it?
Yeah, I've always been into music, but I never thought that I would make music like I am right like today. But as a kid, like I grew up in a home where like my parents were very religious, and like we couldn't go out and do stuff that like normal kids, what I think normal kids would do, like go out and like hang out with their friends, go to their friend's house on the weekends and stuff like that. So I remember like, especially like in my teenage years, I stayed home like on Friday nights, Saturday nights, like I couldn't go out. And so the most exciting thing for me to do while my friends were out was to like be in my room listening to the radio and just hanging out. So like I spent a lot of time listening to music by myself, and I think that was my escape, like that was my way of like going out or getting out. And I became obsessed with music. And growing up before social media and like all of these things, like I didn't know what the potential, and nor my parents knew what the potential was of like what you can do, or if you can make a living like doing art or like making music and stuff like that. So my parents would always say you need to make sure you can, because I really wanted to like draw and paint, and like my parents would be like, you need to get a job and start working and start making money. And so I kind of left all of that behind, like all the creative stuff. And then when I hit my 30s, I was like, I'm gonna start making music. And it was something that was on the bucket list for me to like do. So I got myself a MacBook, and I downloaded a program called Ableton, and I became obsessed with making music. And then I was like, I'm gonna do it. And then I started making it like really like low key, and I started uploading music on SoundCloud. And then I realized that some people were liking what I was making, and then that kept me going. And so I'm fairly new to making music, I would say, because a lot of the friends that I have started making music when they were like teenagers, or like really young, so at one point, like it hit me, and I was like, I mean, I love music so much. I want to start making it, you know, and that's how that was the motivation. You know, I guess getting to that point where I was like, all right, cool, you should actually start making it, and I did. So that's how that whole thing.
How do you express yourself through your work?
I think culturally speaking, I feel like, you know, aside from the fact that, you know, I'm very obsessed with music, I always felt that that I needed to speak about my personal experiences culturally. And so coming to this country as a kid, you know, there was always like the immigrant experience. And I felt like I never really felt like I was like from here, from there, you know, from like, because of, you know, you grew up like having kind of like an identity crisis. You know, there's a lot of things that, you know, I grew up doing differently than a kid that is born here and does things here. And so like with the stuff that I make, I always found a way to kind of represent myself culturally through the music, more so as the immigrant experience than anything else, you know. And I feel like that's what I connect to the most to, is expressing myself culturally, and with that comes all the social injustices that happen worldwide, you know, as an immigrant, from, you know, anything from like racism to, you know, all kinds of social injustices. So I felt like I needed to use music as the vehicle for me to like talk about these things, to express how I feel about, you know, some of the injustices that happens in our communities and are also part of the immigrant experience. So I feel like that's how I'm able to use music as that, as a vehicle to express that.
What does being Afro-Mexican mean to you?
Do not, identify as Afro-Mexican. I know that in a lot of interviews, they actually point that out, and I can see why. I speak a lot on that subject because I was born in a particular region in Mexico where the highest African descendant population in Mexico is in the region where I was born. So I grew up around it. I felt like it was important for me to vocalize that the injustice of what has happened in these regions in Mexico, or in this region of Mexico, where Afro-Mexicans were not counted until 2020. You know, so it took that long for Mexico to say, oh yeah, by the way, there's Black people here, you know. And it's crazy to me that it really took that long for a country to acknowledge that. Me being born in a place where I was surrounded by that, I constantly vocalized the frustration of that. And if you guys don't know why that is so important for a group of people to be counted, and in this case, Afro-Mexicans, if a group of people does not exist, if they're invisible, they're not giving the resources that other groups are given. So for instance, if Black people in Mexico don't exist, there is no resources for them, special help for them. Like they don't build hospitals there in that region. Like their education's at its all-time lowest. Like there's no programs like what you guys have for kids of for kids of color, for Black kids in Mexico. So it affects the communities directly. And when you visit these communities, you see that they were left behind. You get to Mexico, you get to the really nice parts of Mexico, and you're like, wow, this is beautiful, right? But then you go to these parts and you're like, damn, what happened here? Like, where's the nearest hospital? Like, where's the kids programs? Like, how come, you know, this local government building is like falling apart? Like you see and they're dumping like dirty water into the beaches. Like you start seeing all these injustices and you're like, this is bad, you know? So that's why, like, I think a lot of people, I'm so vocal about it, I think a lot of people assume that, you know, I identify as Afro-Mexican, but I've never said that. I think that a lot of people write that about me and say that about me, and I just vocalize the injustice that has been going on about that, and you know, my goal is to try to do as much as I can to raise awareness and see how can I be of help. But I hope that answers your questions or your question.
So you mentioned that you grew up in a very religious household. I was wondering, you know, are you more of a religious person, or would you consider yourself spiritual?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because that's something that I kind of like battle with a lot, you know, because you know, you grew up with your parents and you love your parents no matter what, even though if like there was times where, you know, you've had a falling out and there was bad experiences. And church, you know, has always been that, it was always part of that life, or my life, because of my parents. And sometimes I wondered if I really did enjoy like being part of a religious community, or if it was just something that I did because my parents were doing it. You know what I mean? Like, is it something that really grew in me? Because I was kind of forced into it. It wasn't something that I was asked, hey, do you want to go to church? Like, I had to go to church. Like, I had to wake up in the morning, like on Sundays, and like I wasn't given the option. Like, I had to go. I spent like 5 days a week in church, and I mean, I don't think that teenagers should have to do that, but. And so, am I more spiritual? Yeah, I definitely think that I'm more spiritual than religious, no doubt. And you know, spirituality can be anything. Spirituality can be so many things, you know. But I think ultimately, for me, spirituality means, you know, finding that peace within, and like, you know, just making yourself happy. Whatever you do, just be happy. Like, don't do things for other people, or things that you don't want to do just because other people want you to do, or society wants you to do it. Like, you should really do whatever the hell you want to do, and be happy. You know, that is spirituality to me.
What's your opinion on healing crystals? Like, do you own any?
I don't own any, but I do respect that. I have a lot of friends that have them, and I think it's really cool. You know, I really like what it stands for. I don't have any myself, but I don't know if this counts as healing crystals. But like I've taken sand before from places that I really like, and I put them in a bottle, and like sometimes. I haven't done this recently, but like I like to feel the sand, you know, and like it's just, there's like a connection with the ocean when I feel the sand, or like a rock that I take in from a particular place, where like I find like some kind of a spiritual connection with that thing, that to me can be healing, you know, like a rock or sand, or I don't know, like seeds can be healing, you know. But I've never had healing crystals, but I like the idea and the concept of it. And I feel like I've had something similar, but it's not a crystal. It's more like, you know, sand or a rock. But my opinion on it, I think it's cool. I think, you know, whatever helps you get to where you want to get spiritually and mentally, I think those things are crucial.
So, who would you say has been your biggest supporter and has really helped you through this time, like throughout your music journey, you know, through the pandemic?
What has been a biggest support to me right now? The stuff like this, like hopping on Zoom with people and having conversations has been the ultimate thing that has kind of kept me sane and okay, you know. It's like talking to people, and that's so important to me, you know, to be constantly talking to people, having conversations with people about anything, and I look forward to you know, connecting with people. And also, honestly, I mean, I feel bad saying this because you guys live in Chicago, but I'm originally from LA, and like we get a lot of sun, so I got to give sun the outermost credit. Got to give sun that shout out. It has been that sun has been a big support to me. Like honestly, like if I'm having like not the greatest day, all I have to do is like step out and like stand under the sun, and then I'm like, feels so good to be under the sun. Speaking of healing crystals, like that to me, like the sun has like healing powers. Like it's crazy how like if you are in a really cold, freezing day and it's raining, and then all of a sudden like the sun comes out and it's like warm, it's like that's a healing crystal to me. But conversations like this about music, for me, it like I never get tired of having conversations about music. I can talk about music like all day, every day. And that talking to people about music keeps me afloat, and that has been of like the biggest support, you know, to me. I mean, obviously, you know, there are people who support you, friends and peers and stuff like that, but these conversations are really healthy, you know. These conversations will keep you going for a long time. So I think that's my biggest motivation and support.
That's a good answer. If you could go back in time, knowing what you know now, like how would you be better, or what mistakes would you correct?
I've made mistakes before, for sure. I mean, I feel like a lot of us have made mistakes. As you get older, you probably make more and more mistakes. But I don't know if there's a mistake in particular that I would necessarily go back and correct. I think it was all a process. It was all part of like being me now, you know, like I have to embrace those mistakes. And like, I don't think that there's necessarily one mistake that I would go back and change, you know. If I ever, you know, said something that was hurtful to anybody, that would probably be that one thing that I would go back and change and undo, you know what I mean? Like if you ever hurt somebody's feelings,
yeah,
that's something that I would want to go back and undo for everybody, you know. But things that maybe harmed me, you know, I'm cool. I can run with it, you know. But it's when you start to harm other people that you know, I think that if it can be avoided in any way, then yeah. So yeah, maybe if I can go through the list of all the names of all the people who I've been, you know, harmed or anything, like I would start to undo them all, you know. And then I would be like, look, and I can say like I've never hurt anybody, like I've never said anything bad, like I've never been mean to anybody. I would undo, and I would have a clean record, you know, pound for pound, like the nicest guy around. But
if you could change something about the music industry, what would it be?
I don't know if I can pinpoint something in particular about the music industry that I would change. I mean, obviously, you know, you want everybody to be treated fairly and get paid, you know, fairly for their talent, and ultimately that would be the best request, you know. You know, but I mean, I feel like, you know, those limitations are also what has made some of us stronger, you know, like, because it hasn't been easy. Those of us who really had it in us to keep doing it, it's helped us to become better and push more. Whereas the ones that were just doing it as a face, like, oh, cool, I pick up a guitar and I'm gonna play it because I'm gonna be in a band, and then like, you know, hopefully, you know, we can do this, and like, and then they realized it wasn't really in them. It was just part of a phase that they were going through, which is great. I think that, you know, when I look at some of the unfairness, you know, and then injustices and like the limitations, I feel like I've now looked at them more as things that have pushed me to do more and try harder, you know. I'm not saying that these limitations are right at any point, but I'm saying that now I just look at it like, how do we get through it? You know, how do we come together as a community and like work so that we can all, you know, do our thing and in the right way. And I think that, you know, I don't know if I would change that. I would want to change more than the industry. I would want to change of how this country in particular deals with musicians and creatives or artists as a whole. I feel like this country can encourage and put more money out for creatives. Like I feel like we should have music on the street, you know, like I feel like it shouldn't be illegal for people to play and unite on the street and play music on the street. I feel like the street should be full of music. I feel like there should be more programs like the kind of program that you guys are in, where like there's more encouragement and motivation to keep doing what you guys are doing, like at different levels, and like that you guys should get compensated with some kind of something, you know, like I feel like this country could encourage more younger people to be more in the arts and create, and that, you know, I feel like more than the music industry, I feel like this country can be of more help to, you know, people like you guys who are doing what you're doing. And you know, the whole thing about starving artists, I don't know, it kind of sucks to even hear that, you know. I feel like there shouldn't be starving artists. Like people who want to commit and dedicate their time to creating full time should be somehow, you know, helped by the government.
Just to finish this lovely conversation, what is next for Sumohair?
What's next? It's well, we're gonna finish this this new EP that we're working on, and then you know, hopefully we can start booking, you know, start getting dates for some tours here and there, and start going out into, you know, out into the real world and start playing this music. And you know, like I'm also like, whenever I'm free and have time away from, you know, from this project, I'm always like looking for something to get into, to work on. And I don't have a definite answer as to, you know, what stuff I'm going to be getting into, but I know that you know, I'm always on the lookout, just trying to see what I can get into. But as of right now, I mean, the calendar seems to be pretty full with things that I have in mind already, but nothing is solid. But the future is just creating, you know, making stuff, making music, and staying happy, you know, like waking up every morning and being happy with what you're about to do, what I'm about to do during the day. And I think that the future is just waking up, creating, and being happy.
Well, Sumohair, it was a pleasure having you here with Mesita. Unfortunately, time is running out. For the public listening or watching this interview, where can we listen to your music and be aware of everything you do?
So my artist name is Sumohair. You can find my music on Spotify, and you can find me on Instagram too. And we have our project Reyna Tropical, which is also on Spotify, and we're also on Instagram. So you guys can hear the music there and find us on Instagram also.
Well, thank you so much, Sumohair, for your time and talent. See you soon, and we're going to be following your next projects of music. This was La Mesita. My name is Jennifer, and
my name is Portia.
Remember that you are listening to WLPN LP 105.5 FM, Lumpen Radio, Chicago.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It's fun.